Hi YouTube. Well, straight to the point. I bought myself a used Scania truck and I decided to make a dump truck out of it and show you how easy it can be to make a dump truck with a cheap budget. So this is the truck I bought. I know it's not much, but the price was very low and it's missing a few parts here and there, but that's okay. Also the colors, as you can see, it hasn't been painted. I guess he was mounting all the parts before he planned to paint the thing. So I'm going to disassemble this whole thing, take off all the parts and start from scratch. So these are some wheels I had laying around. I'm going to use them on this truck because these are some pretty good construction site off-road tires. So here we have the frame, or the chassis. So what I notice is that these screws are a little loose. So we got this slop all over the place. Now I'm going to tighten them down and put some Loctite on them. And then I think I won't do anything with this chassis. We'll keep this as is. We're going to paint the cabin and we're going to build a dump bed and put on the details that I 3D printed. I'll show the parts to you later as we come to that point. So as I was tightening the screws, I noticed that every single screw on this suspension is loose, so I had to take everything apart, and now I'm adding Loctite to these top screws and of course this nut on this screw. So I'm going to do that and finish this up, and I'll see you afterwards. So now everything is tight and I can mount this suspension back on the frame. So the frame is ready. I think I will take off this aluminum part. I don't like it, it's too flashy for my liking. And also I don't feel like I need aluminum on the rear end here. I think I have an original plastic part and I'll replace it. We're going to take off the cabin mount because I'm printing a new one. We're going to raise the cabin 8mm so that we get more ground clearance, and also it will look more like a dump truck. You'll see when it's finished. Now our next step is preparing these cabin parts for paint. I have an idea of what paint I'm going to use, and I think it will look good. So let's strip this for parts, and I see somebody install lights on this already. I'm going to take them off. I'll install my own lights.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel?
I decided to keep the side windows in. They're glued around here, so I don't want to damage the cabin. I'll just mask out the windows when I paint. Here you can see the color that I'm going for. It's a dark gray metallic, and it looks really awesome. I can't wait to see this. So the truck has been painted. As you can see, I've started assembling the cabin, and I will put the cabin on the chassis right now. I'm very excited to see how this will be. And of course I have put this red vinyl on the front grille and also on the smaller lip. So the plan is to have some other vinyl on the sides here. Now I've got myself a vinyl cutter, so let's get the cabin mounted onto the chassis. So here we have the original Tamiya cabin mount for the chassis. Now what I've done is I've designed and 3D printed a new one. This will raise the cabin 8 millimeters, which makes the truck have more ground clearance, and it will, since this is a dump truck, it will be more capable of driving off-road. So we're going to install this, and also I've made these adapters to raise the floor as well.
I've been feeling down, but I've been looking up, afraid to fall. God, I've been so down, can you pick me up? Don't let me fall. Can you show me how to fix this mess? I am down and on my knees.
Here you can see the rear cabin mount is now 8 millimeters taller. So now I'm going to install this front bumper. This is a design that I made quite a while ago, and it's got these mounts on the back side here that you mount on the original Tamiya holes, and also this can tilt forward so you can open the cabin. we have the original Tamiya floor. Now this is supposed to be inside the cabin and also keep the fenders in place. But I really hate this piece, because this takes so much of the room inside the cabin. So I'm planning to put on interior and wires for lights and everything inside of that cabin. So I just can't live with this thing. So I designed a new one. Now this is a simple floor. This will keep the fenders right there. And as you can see, it takes almost no space inside the cabin. Now I made these sidewalls here to prevent wires from falling down into the front wheels. But what this does, it really saves a lot of space inside the cabin. So I'm going to install this now. I will probably have to drill a few holes or maybe put some glue on here. Now this will sit on the outside of the frame. The frame will go on the inside here. So you can adjust this where you want, with glue of course. Now the reason I put on the front bumper is because when I adjust this piece, these front fenders will slide into the front bumper. You'll see. Oh, and also you have to remember that I raised the cabin 8 millimeters, and that means that this floor that I made also raises the fenders 8 millimeters. So there we go, the fenders are on and the cabin is almost ready. Let's put on the wheels. Now you can really see the ground clearance by lifting the cabin. So the plan is to add a couple of decals or maybe a big decal on the side of the cabin. So what I'm going to do, I've taken a picture of the side of the truck and I'm going to import this picture on my computer, and then I will create a decal and print it with my vinyl cutter. So here's the decals that I was able to just throw together, and I'm going to print them, and I'm going to have the outer line black, as you can see, and the inside will be red. Here's the decals finished. I'm going to put them on the truck now. So here's the decals on the truck. I'm very happy with how they turned out. So here's a couple of rear fenders that I designed. What I did is I designed these to mount super easily on the truck, and these will also provide with much better ground clearance or clearance between the wheels and the fenders, so it can flex a lot more. So the fenders are mounted on the chassis. So since this is a dump truck, I need to create a tipper bed and a tipper frame for it. So that's what we are going to do now. First I have to design the tipper bed and we'll see how it goes. So this is the starting plans for the tipper bed. So what I've done here is I have drawn in the steel plate that I will of course cut and bend into shape. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create all the finer details on this tipper bed. I'm going to glue the parts onto the steel and also create some holes to put screws in to keep things in place. With the design for the tipper bed ready, we can now begin assembling it. So as you can see, the steel plate has to be 315 millimeters long, and luckily I had this steel plate which is about 350 millimeters across here, I think. So what I'm going to do now, here we have the rear piece for the tipper box, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure between these points individually, and then I'll put them on the steel plate so that I can bend the steel into the correct shape. So the steel plate for the tipper bed or tipper box is now ready to be bent into shape. Now before I bend it, I'm going to drill all the holes, because it's much easier to drill the holes now while it is not bent. So I'm going to drill the holes. So what I'm doing now, I am just cleaning up the cuts from the drilling. Since this will be the outside of the tipper box, I am using the drill instead of this thing, because this will create a lot of ugly scratches on the steel, which will also show when you paint it. So that's why I'm using this drill right now, to clean up these cuts. So what I'm doing when I use this thing, I'm checking if everything fits correctly, and also, more importantly, I have to check when I place this in place. I can see if I have to bend the plate on the inside or the outside of this line. As you can see, when I put this in place, the line is perfect, so I can just bend it right on the line. So here we have our front wall for the tipper box. This is on the inside and this is the outside. As you can see, I have made a flange here, so this will stop. This part will slide on the inside and the steel plate will stop on this flange right here. Now I'm going to put glue here and also put in some screws to keep the front wall in place. Unfortunately for me, I missed with these holes on both sides, so I'm going to drill new ones so I can put screws in to clamp this in place.
one knows how it feels between disasters. It comes and goes. The life of dreams is moving faster, and no one knows the constant fear of what comes after. We'll never know.
The tipper bed is now finished, and now I can paint it and start creating the tipper frame for the truck, and then we can move on to the electronics and lights and all the other small details. So let's see how it looks on the truck. Yeah, it's looking okay. The tipper bed will be higher from the frame once I get the tipper frame on there. Well, I'm going to end this video right here. The Scania build is coming along pretty nice. The truck is, I think it's looking pretty good already. In the next video I think I'll focus on the tipper frame and the tipper mechanic, and maybe even start soldering the lights and creating an interior and stuff. So stay tuned for that, and if you liked this video please give it a thumbs up, it helps me a lot, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.